Welcome to another episode of Courage Talks. Special guest today, Bipin Kaul. Bipin has a extremely impressive journey as an Ultraman runner and an Ironman runner, and he claims that he's among the very few people from the banking and the fintech industry who's really endorsed the sport of endurance and long distance running. Welcome, Bipin. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Hetal, for having me on this show. I've been for long following your talks, and it's real pleasure to be now talking in the show. So thank you. So I'm as I said, I'm an amateur athlete, and I practice endurance and especially endurance sports. And I think I was exposed to endurance sport from my childhood thanks to my schooling. I think that is what brought me what I am today is to my schooling, and so I'll speak about that later in my talk. And professionally, I work for an international company in Philippines, and I head the digital bank there. And I have been all in all been banker. So I've worked 20 years in different Indian banks, large banks, ICICI, IDFC, IndusInd Bank, and with Paytm also. And recently, I moved to a fintech bank, digital bank in Philippines. And I stay in Gurgaon. My family is in Gurgaon. I have my wife Preeti, my two daughters, Vidhi and Kyra, and my mother. So we all stay in Gurgaon. I think that's all
Wonderful.
about me, and I'm sure over a period of talk we'll chat up more on this.
That's great to know, and very humble of you to call yourself an amateur athlete. I'm sure a lot of people in the running community would be laughing when they hear you say that. You mentioned about childhood, and there's an interesting incident about you swimming in Dal Lake when you were a child. Just walk us through. I mean, how did it all happen?
I think the school I come from, because that's why I tell every parent that I think the biggest investing in a kid you can do is the schooling. Because I firmly believe that whatever I am today, it's been to the foundation has been the school, not my parents, not anybody else, but the school I went into. So I went to this Christian missionary school in Srinagar, Tyndall Visco School, and the motto of the school was "In all things be men," in a very good sense that
Yeah.
chivalry, respect, bravery, all these things were inculcated, and they were not extracurricular. Like sports was not extracurricular there; it was co-curricular. It's only when I came to Delhi I heard there's something called extracurricular activities. So there it was called co-curricular. So like if by fifth class I was not a swimmer, I could not go to sixth class, even if you're
Wow.
a topper in the school. So becoming a swimmer was like there was an Olympic size pool. You have to go and come back, swim 100 meters without touching anything. So you would become a swimmer, and on Wednesday you would get a certificate in the assembly, and you will then qualify. Then we had our boats. So we used to on every Wednesday we used to in Dal Lake have races. So you had to
Acha.
be in the team, and we used to have boats. There was a boat house beginning of Dal Lake. I don't know if you have been there, and people
Yeah.
listeners who have been there. There's a boat house Dal Lake where it starts from. So we used to row the boats till the Dal Lake and then have the races between the house. So that is the
Wow.
kind of upbringing I had. Like from third and fourth, we had started doing cross countries, and I was like the worst of all. So never wanted to run, jog, or anything because we came from a Kashmiri Pandit family where the ethos is you study hard, and in education we do exceptionally well, and sports is
Yeah.
like we don't. So I think schooling had an impact on me. So and my father has studied, my grandfather has studied from these schools, and my father had also swam this thing and all.
Wow.
So I never knew, and we never used to get time to practice and all that. So, like, and I think it's like our humble background. So, I used to walk down from school to house and house to school. It was around 5 to 6 kilometers. I used to get
Mhm.
1 rupee a day in the morning. So, fifth morning में जल्दी आना पड़ता था school, so couldn't
Ah.
escape. In the evening, I used to buy some stuff, something, some popcorns or something, and then walk down all the way to my home. So, I think that is where my endurance started, or doing all these things. And swimming, because the culture was such, we never thought like it's an education, like even if you are an average guy, you still have to pass and go. I think that was my story also. So everybody was in sports, everybody was doing everything. So I also got along. And I remember, so the qualifying was like I swam 11 kilometers backstroke when I was in sixth class, around
Oh
11
my.
year old.
11
So
kilometers
11 kilometers.
backstroke.
So it's like Dal Lake, you go and come back. So it's around
Ah.
7 miles, which is approximately 11 kilometers.
Right.
But the beauty is, जब मैं इधर training कर रहा था, तो I used to tell my friend circle that I've done this. And
Ah.
I had somewhere misplaced my certificate. So
Okay.
nobody would believe this. Everybody will tell me, अरे गोली दे रहा है, ऐसा थोड़ी होता है, छठी क्लास में 11 किलोमीटर वो भी बैक स्ट्रोक. So nobody would believe me. And one day I was cleaning my papers and I got this certificate. I found this
Oh,
certificate. And
I'm
then I
sure that post
posted.
would have broken the internet on that day.
Oh, see, luckily, Gurgaon mein the friend circle I had was very elite. Like somebody has done something, Iron Man, Ultraman, this, that, everything. तो
Hmm.
मतलब उनको convince करना, it's like they don't get easily impressed. So everybody used to laugh at me कि अरे ये वो डल लेक वाला है ऐसे type से कह के. And then luckily when I got that certificate, I felt so relieved कि I could show them this thing. But I think that was my best of my memory. And I didn't know, trust me, जैसे अभी the way we train today, like
Yeah.
8 hours, 7 hours, उस टाइम में तो कुछ होता ही नहीं था ऐसे. हर
हाँ,
रोज वो आपको हफ्ते में 3 क्लासेस होती थी स्विमिंग की, आधे घंटे की, 1 घंटे की, उसमें
हाँ,
आपको स्विमिंग करनी है, जो करना है कर लो उसी में.
बराबर
So
है.
you won't get time or anything. So the
Yeah.
event used to be like this. First, there was a round the boat. There were 18 boats. You had to do 3 rounds. So if you
Okay.
qualify that, then you 1 mile swim, which is Dal Lake to some one point. There's a gate, Nishat Gate. And then if you do that, then you go and qualify and then do the Dal Lake. And my father
Okay.
was there. He was in the boat with me all the way. I think that's the longest period I have spent. My father passed away very early. So
I'm sorry
when
for
I was
that.
21, 22. So that's the longest memory I had with him. So he was sitting in the boat because he had also done it. So he could
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
it. So, and they used to throw those Kashmiri rotis in water because you can't touch anything, you can't
हाँ,
hold anything,
yeah,
you
that's
can't
the rule,
eat.
right? Yeah,
So
yeah.
he would throw the sort. And I was doing backstroke. पता तो चलता नहीं है पीछे कि कहाँ जा रहे हैं. My father would continuously tell me that.
हाँ,
And when I
yeah,
reached there, I had no plans of doing it. कि वापस आना है. So, and suddenly I saw my teacher telling me, you still have time, you can turn because there's a cutoff for turning around.
right, right.
So, turning and then coming back, I think that was a lovely memory. And this is what your brain does. See, this is what my
Yeah.
early learning was. I was not prepared, I had not practiced. जैसे हम अभी आर्यमैन अल्ट्रामैन के लिए आई लाइक बर्न्ड माय मिडनाइट ऑयल उसका वन
हाँ,
टेंथ भी नहीं किया था बट इट
हाँ.
वाज ऑल दैट चाइल्डहुड ना लाइक किडिश मेंटालिटी दैट you don't know the limits. You don't know that it is impossible.
You
It's
didn't
just
try
that
it out.
fun. It is just for the fun of that event. I went ahead and then finally somebody told me you can turn around also. And I
हाँ.
turned around. And it had nothing to do with endurance. It was all about that innocence, being a child, not knowing the limits, and just doing it for the fun.
Wow,
So that was one of my first endurance events
wow.
by
And you said it was
accident.
not only swimming because you mentioned cross country as well. So you did a lot of running as well at that time.
ये मैं बहुत ही पथेटिक वो था मतलब आई नेवर लव्ड रनिंग एंड ऑल दैट बट मैंडेटरी था बिकॉज आपको स्कूल में फिर बैठने नहीं देते थे इफ यू डोंट रन सो वी यूज्ड
Okay.
टू गो फ्रॉम आवर स्कूल आई वाज इन लाल चौक मेन हार्ट ऑफ द सिटी
Yeah,
and you had to run through and go to all Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya is like
yeah,
quite a elevation, huh?
right,
So
right.
go there and come back. So मरते
That's the one.
मराते करते थे कुछ ना कुछ करते थे but I think that laid the foundation. What I feel today is that it's not fault of the parents that they are not able to expose their kids into that because they themselves are not seen it. So like today
Hmm.
also I see so many of my friends when I tell them sports क्यों नहीं करते हो they have no exposure they have no understanding of it कि that
Yeah,
what can
yeah,
life be like cricket का exposure है तो हर आदमी everybody is professionally training their kids and everything because there's money there's everything and people it is exposed but for
right.
other things there is no exposure they don't know so I was lucky that school which I came from, it was way of life. It was like maths पढ़ना है, आज science पढ़ना है, आज English पढ़ना है, आज swimming करनी है, आज running करनी है, आज climbing करनी है. That's how the
Fine.
subjects were.
Wow,
So, and
wow.
that's helped me to really get exposed and expose my family also into this.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So this podcast is all about courage, courage talks, and the basic story here is my book, which I wrote for my father, Against All Odds, where he went through a lot of courage in his regular daily life. I mean, he was no hero of any sort, but day-to-day incidents, there was very instances where I felt, he demonstrated courage. Who's your role model for courage?
I think there are a lot of people. I can't say that one person who is on. So, like, if you ask me, I think the biggest courage is my parents. Like, we migrated from Kashmir, and I'm 47 today. My parents started at 44 age from zero. So their house was burnt, everything was burnt. There was nothing when they came to Jammu, and they started from zero, and they built again. And I am today here. I think whatever effort they made. So I think. There are a lot of people, my grandfather who would wake up in the 5 o'clock in the winters, wake me up, get me ready, take me to the school. So all a lot of people who have been a symbol of encouragement me, so courage. There are a lot of people. I can't name one person, but a lot of people. But definitely my mother, my father. But I didn't see much of my father. But my mother, who has been like all alone, she has brought up 2 kids, and my father passed away when we moved out of Kashmir, and all alone she brought us up against all odds we were blessed to have a very very good close family and all But for a widow to take care of two kids and coming out from starting from zero, it's a big effort to take you through.
Any particular instance about your mother? ऐसा कोई किस्सा याद हो आपको जिसका which stays with you?
I think she was always part of my success, part of my events and everything. Like I remember, I didn't tell you this. I got in sixth, I got selected for Sports Authority of India. So I played sub junior India hockey. So I got
Wow.
randomly. So तब ये Sports Authority of India की scheme चली थी.
हाँ.
So there was this scheme that they used to adopt kids from schools and then put them into national sports in Patiala, NIS, and they train every year. They give full education, sponsors scholarship and all that. So there was this happening in my school also, and football, hockey, तो nobody knew only. So everybody
Yeah.
wanted to do in football. तो फुटबॉल में बहुत लंबी लाइन लगी थी. तो बहुत लंबी लाइन थी फॉर द गिविंग योर ट्रायल्स. तो तब तक हॉकी एंड दे सेड कि यू विल गेट ट्रैक सूट एंड यू विल गेट दिस तो ऑन ऑल एक्साइटमेंट कभी खेला भी नहीं था. So I said, okay, chal, tab tak let me go to in a hockey line and let me let me try something. So I just stood there. All you know is I played district, I played school, district, state. I got selected in 40 kids across India in Sports of
Wow.
India, and I from 7th till 12th I got scholarship from Sports Authority of India. So I played sub
Okay.
juniors, like I played hockey then extensively. In my college I was in a college team in Sri Ram College of Commerce. So my mother was always there, and we were like we come from a very humble background there. Buying me sports को hockey and like hockey के shoes ही खरीदना है उस टाइम पे वो जो फुटबॉल के
Yeah.
shoes होते थे वो लेते थे. So she
हाँ.
always stood by me, and even in my growing years, my teenage, my adulthood, and everything, she always stood by me, always encouraged me to do things different. Like even when
Yeah.
I was picking up these sports, or even when I'm changing my job or taking some risk in my career or anything, I think she's the one, and now obviously my wife, after my mother and all. So I think she has been one who's been like my sounding board. I go to speak to or
Yeah.
check with her. She has her own way of telling me it's good or not good.
It's interesting to know about your dabble with hockey, and I hope सर्टिफिकेट वगैरह हैं because जब ये podcast
Oh
launch
yeah,
होगा तो आपके
yeah.
दोस्त सबसे पहले आके बोलेंगे.
You know, I've now kept everything. So in my, if you see my study, I have all the laminated, all especially जो achievement है. Getting
हाँ.
select, उस time पे getting selected, I'm talking about 89.
हम्म.
89 में I got selected for Sports Authority of India, then I got scholarship, and उसी साल migration हुई थी. So God has its own ways. उसी
Yeah.
साल migration हुई थी. And that very year I got my scholarship and I went to Chandigarh for my studies and studied till 12th and did hockey. Obviously, मतलब, like I was average after that. When I actually went into the mainstream, then I realized I was not the top of the league, but I played to a level and tried my best there.
Coming to your professional career, you've been in the fintech industry, and fintech industry, as we know, has its own challenges. Whether you talk about regulation, whether you talk about convincing customers to buy a product, and so on and so forth, internally and externally, with employees, with customers, you face different situations where it gets really challenging, right? So, any instance that you recollect, ऐसा कोई किस्सा याद हो where you observed courage of yourself, of the team, of the management, any tough decisions that you had to make, any big barriers that you had to overcome to achieve something?
I think I come from a banking. I worked 21 years banking before I went into switched my career to fintech kind of a role.
Right. Yeah.
And banking taught me process orientation, compliance, customer centricity. But I think two things which had a very profound impact on me were process orientation and compliance. Like before anything and everything, compliance comes. Before anything and everything, process orientation comes. And what I saw when I went to a fintech was that these are two things which are missing there. Rest everything like 0 to 1 growth hacking, and all those things are phenomenal. Like using technology to the core for everything. Like in bank, we had learned for whatever you want to do, add more people. So if you want to do 10x, add 5 people. If you want to do 20x, add another 5 people. So that was the way banks worked.
Hmm.
But in fintech, it was not like that. Fintech was more and more you want to scale up, less and less you want people,
Yeah.
and more technology gets used. And that's why fintech is there. This is what I learned there. But biggest thing what I saw was that the process orientation, it was like a rubber band model. जब तक खींच के रखोगे तब तक खींचा हुआ रहता है. Otherwise, it just goes back to the
So,
own
yeah.
place. And it's so people believe that compliance and process orientation slows you down. It is anti-growth that it does. But I so believe that in long run, the process orientation and compliance makes you much more faster. It's like one of my mentors, Mr. Sanjeev Sharawat, he used to tell me, he asked me one day this question, K, why do you have brakes in the car? And everyone's first reply was that to stop the car. He said, no, that's not the reason why brakes are there. Brakes are there that you can drive it faster because you know that you have control, you have a brake with you. Now drive
Yeah.
it at 200 and you have a brake and you apply the brake, not that you apply the brake and then drive. So, and that was a very big learning for me. So in my company also, when I was working with one of the large Indian fintechs, and there was always, and I don't believe that they were, it was always the systems were set up that it was always growth oriented and less on compliance and process orientation. And there were times when we had crossroads with the founder and everybody that no, I want to do this way because this is compliant way, this, and that really stood by me. When you're going against the tide, you better be sure that you're going to reach the destination. So it was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. So that, but my upbringing was such that I had such a firm belief that process orientation is critical. It will last me. And this is what happened in the end. And there was some regulatory issues or something issue. And finally, my business was the only business which had zero problem at that time.
Wow.
Because when the audit happened and everything happened, it was compliant, as was process orientation, and everything worked. So I think
Yeah.
these are few things which I have learned. But I think if you ask me today, I can't move back to a bank now. I can't work there. So
uh,
fintech is it's a phenomenal way of solving problems. Like you really have to work with founders to understand this process. Like I don't think I have that DNA. I've been institutionalized like a bank. So I think that way
good.
only.
Good.
But 4 or 5 years which I have spent so far in fintechs has helped me one to solve problem with technology, not with people.
Hmm.
Reduce cost with more business, which generally is not there. The cost will go up, they will go. So those are,
Yeah.
and I think few things which I've learned and I have succeeded in is building method to madness. That there is a method to it is not people driven, it is process driven. So it's not that if Bipin is not there tomorrow, this business will come on its knees. It is
Hmm.
process driven. So I think that, and that learning has come from sports also because like when you're preparing for Ultraman and all these events, it is
Yeah.
not your talent. It is finally your effort which you have, the training which you have done. So
Yeah.
all these things have worked for me, and I think this was my biggest learning working in fintechs now.
It's a good time to switch to endurance and Ultraman. And while we talk about physical and mental, I believe it's a major emotional journey as well, right? And whatever you want to call it. I mean, अमिताभ बच्चन एक गलती कर गया, वो मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता करके बड़ा डायलॉग छोड़ गया है. We all are emotional at certain time, right? So any instance that you recollect from your endurance journey where you were very emotional, you could not hold back your emotions. Yeah.
Ultraman journey was tough because that year I got transferred to Bangalore and my family. I was in IDFC First Bank, so I was heading south, and my family was in Delhi, and I was in Bangalore. And just every weekend I used to come back. So 3 hour flight or airport जाना Bangalore में is 3 hour journey.
Yeah.
So I
True.
used to take 7 hours to come home. And then for training
Wow.
भी करनी है, and I had registered already for Ultraman. So
Yeah.
and that year was very phenomenal. So in 1.5 year I did everything. I did two Ironman, I did Ultraman, I did Comrades, I did Ladakh Ultra, Khardung Ashtra. So in a span of 16, 17 months, I did everything. So I
Wow.
was really high
And
on that time and all that.
are you sure you were getting your salary during these
Oh
months?
yeah, yeah. But I'll tell you my story. So I'll tell you how I used to do. But my family was here, and it was very tough period. This was the first time I was going out and staying away. And then for training week, you have to spend 8 hours a day. So
Yeah.
planning, if I'm in Chennai, I would pick up some friends there. Raghu would be there, or somebody would be there. If I'm in Bangalore, I will do there. I was in Vishakhapatnam, I would go for sea swim. And there are
Wow.
such anecdote stories everywhere. So I was in Visakhapatnam and I was swimming, and it's a Navy sensitive area. I went inside and the Navy boat came and it picked me up. So they
Wow.
picked me up. So in Chennai we were swimming and Ragul was there with me. We were swimming in the night. So we went as a, and Chennai generally they have these smugglers coming in from Sri Lanka side and all that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we didn't
Yeah.
know. We went in the night and it was high tide kind of a time. And suddenly I saw a boat is coming and towards us. I was stuck in the wave and all that. And they picked us up and they were police guys because the people on the shore said there's some, and I was looking a bit fair. They thought some foreigner is there though. So they said some
Russia.
smuggler,
Yeah.
some smuggler is there, and they picked us up. Yeah, but like I was like 3 o'clock in the morning in police station. So I was just telling them, please don't, my company will kick me out of this thing. So I have such experience. They were like, I used to plan here, there, but it was very draining emotionally. खाना भी खुद बनाना है, breakfast भी खुद बनाना है, तैयार भी होना है, 9 बजे ऑफिस भी जाना है, and there's no support emotionally. And I used to like
Yeah.
train in the morning, go Saturday morning, leave at 3 o'clock, go to Kolar and come back around 200 kilometers. Then Sunday again, go and come back, do the same thing. There were so many times when I had tears in my eyes, कि like, why the hell am I doing it? Na medal milna hai, na paise milne hain. So why the hell you have to do it? But
Yeah. Yeah.
ultimately, that finish line, the goal which you visualize, and that keeps you together on this piece. But there have been so many times that I have tears in my eyes कि that why the hell am I doing इतनी ऐसे ऐसे कराने की क्या जरूरत है मतलब करके. And especially when you reach, I remember first time when I did Khardungla, I was like, एक तो ऑक्सीजन वैसे ही नहीं होता है, you are like
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
zombied here there, and I had tears in
हाँ.
my eyes कि why am I doing this यार, ये लग गई है, सांस नहीं आ रही है, टांगे नहीं चल रही है, और अभी 40 किलोमीटर और कर रहा है. But
हाँ.
फिर then you realize कि this is the fun of this journey. It's like a
Yeah.
meditation. It's like practicing endurance. मतलब, every
Yeah.
every event
Yeah.
has made me stronger. Every event has made me a better human being. I think this is what I love about
Wow.
sports. So
Yeah, and I think the variety of the events. I mean, it's not just going doing one event and coming back and stopping, right? The going for the next one and going for the next one, and then still trying to find meaning and purpose in it, right? I think that's the whole beauty. आपको लगता है, I mean, on paper everything looks the same. एक आयरनमैन और दूसरा आयरनमैन सेम लगते हैं. जब दूसरा करके आते हो, जो फीलिंग आती है वो एक अलग ही लेवल पे होती है, right? You can't
and
compare the two as
and
well.
you keep on testing yourself. Like मैं इसलिए अब रिपीट नहीं करता हूँ इवेंट, बिकॉज आपको एक बार अपना वो लिमिट पता चल गया तो फिर आपको पता है कि आप ये कर सकते हो. तो एवरी टाइम यू
हाँ.
पुश समथिंग नया ना, जो आपको ट्रिकी लगता है, मतलब इट्स लाइक आई ऑलवेज से इन माय टॉक्स कि जो आपके ना औकात के बियॉन्ड हो, मतलब जो आपको सोने ना दो, कहे यार ये नहीं हो सकता, ये मैं नहीं कर
हाँ.
सकता, तो वही रजिस्टर करना है. मतलब जहां भी मुझे लगता है ना कि ये आपके औकात से बाहर है, तो वो
हाँ.
ऑब्वियसली नॉट एब्सर्ड कि कल सुबह 600 किलोमीटर भाग लो. मतलब इट्स लाइक जो
हाँ.
आपको
या
टीडिंग
या
टीडिंग सा लगे ना कि यार ये
हाँ.
हो भी सकता है और नहीं भी हो सकता है, बट आपको सोने ना
करेक्ट.
दे.
हाँ.
मतलब योर ड्रीम हैज
या
टू बी बिग इनफ टू वेक यू अप एट 4 o'clock इन द मॉर्निंग कि हाँ यार लग
या
जाएगी अगर नहीं किया. लाइक सो आई थिंक दैट इज व्हाट आई पिक फॉर डूइंग
या
एनीथिंग. दैट्स
या
व्हाट आई पिक इन इवेंट्स.
माई मंत्रा इज व्हाट यू फियर द मोस्ट इज व्हाट यू नीड द मोस्ट.
या
जिससे आप बार बार झिझक रहे हो, आपको वही करना है, राइट? वो करना इज एंड द हर्डल विच यू क्रॉस, द लॉन्गर यू हैव हैड दैट फियर, the more important it becomes for you to get it out of the way.
ट्रू
Otherwise,
ट्रू.
it will keep coming back to your mind all along. While we talk about fear, there is a lot of risk as well. I mean, you already shared you almost were caught like a smuggler in Chennai. But what is the biggest risk you've taken in life, either in terms of career or in terms of endurance or at a personal life? कुछ आपको लगता है कि you had that sense that यार ये बेवकूफी कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन you
आई
got it
थिंक
through.
आई नॉट से रिस्क, बट हमें भी शायद आज नहीं लगता है, बट व्हेन आई मूव्ड आउट ऑफ अ बैंक एंड मूव टू अ फिनटेक, आई थिंक दैट वाज वन रिस्क व्हेन आई थॉट, बिकॉज when you're working in a bank, you get institutionalized. You're made to think one
Mhm.
way, safety, security, everything. But I think I'll not call risk, but I don't think I've taken much risk in my life. I'm very risk averse guy when it comes to things. But God has been kind that I've been able to take right decisions, which might
Right.
come across as risky, but today I think they were the right decisions. Like leaving ICICI Bank and moving to some other, I
Mhm.
could have retired there and done exceptionally well, made good money, but I left
Yeah.
in pursuit of that. I would learn something new. Today, I can say, while I can't quantify it in money terms, but I can definitely say that I've got exposed to a lot of other things which I wouldn't have got staying in one place. So I
Yeah.
think at
Yeah.
that point of time, but I won't, right now, I now call it a right decision. So,
The other important aspect of learning is failure. Failures teach us a lot. Any instances of failure which you'd like to talk, which
I
kind of
think
stays with you as a
professionally,
learning
I
point?
think I firmly believe that failure is your best friend. Like success doesn't teach you much. For me, I'm telling you my personal experience.
Yeah.
Success brought me arrogance. Success brought me brashness. Like it brought me all the things which I never wanted in my life. So I become so arrogant when I was like in ICICI Bank, I was like working there and I did exceptionally well there in my career. So I
Yeah.
thought I was the guy, nothing can happen beyond me. I used to be very
Yeah.
arrogant with me, with rude with people, very, very aggressive with people because I was delivering everything and but I was losing that the basic fundamental of that. And what like in for 13 years I worked, I've got every year I was top rated, everything. And I had one bad year. And that cost me heavily. That cost me heavily. That year everybody got promoted other than me. I didn't get a it was a very average year. I lost heavily. But trust me, that was my best year. Today, if I say this was my best year, because I recalibrated myself in that failure, and I was posted in a place where I worked extensively high. I learned a lot of things from my failure. One was it reset me, it rebooted me. Like it gave me a jolt that come back to ground and you are also a lesser mortal as others. So it helped me. At that time, it was very painful. That year was very painful when you are seeing your colleagues going up, your peers going ahead, your colleagues going ahead, your juniors coming to your level, you're not getting a role and all that. It was tormenting. And especially when you have seen like super success. It really helped me. Luckily, I had started my endurance sports at that time. So that kept me really balanced at that time. And I learned how to recalibrate, how to reboot myself. And if you ask me, I have had one massive failure year in my career of 23 years of working. And that year has made sure that I last another 23 years. So that one year made me so strong in terms of humbleness, in terms of coming to ground, recalibrating your strategy, not up. So I had one formula of working, putting pressure on people, driving numbers. I was a hardcore sales guy, but I changed. That failure forced me to think different way, and I can very proudly say that failure has made sure that I will last now another 25 years doing good job. So I think that has had a very profound time on me. And I think in failure also, don't question yourself because you know what happens. At that time, I had a lot of questions, and my one of my mentors said, "K, see, 20 years, same qualities and everything, you succeeded. Same organization did good for you. One bad year
Yeah.
cannot make everything wrong. That company is wrong. They've not been fair to you, or your skill sets are wrong. You have to change the skill set." So I think it's you have to very important thing to have a right mentor. I think it's very important to have a right person you can go and reach out to. And be it sports are everywhere. Like today also at this level also having done enough and more endurance sport, I have no shame in picking up phone on somebody and asking, यार ये कैसे होता है तूने क्या किया था मैंने क्या किया मतलब I haven't had a formal training. I've all learned through people like you ना जो थोड़ा हर स्पोर्ट्स में
Yeah.
किसी से कुछ पूछ लिया किसी से अच्छा ऐसे करते हैं ऐसे कार्ब लोडिंग करते हैं ऐसे ये करते हैं ऐसे टेपरिंग
Yeah.
करते हैं ऐसे ट्रेनिंग करते हैं माय होल अल्ट्रामैन ट्रेनिंग वेंट जस्ट हियरिंग पीपल अराउंड एंड आई वाज लकी द
Yeah.
कंपनी आई हैड आई थिंक दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट आई वांट टू टच बेस इज दैट द कंपनी you will be in and that is what you will become eventually. I
Hmm.
was lucky that I had people like ultra athletes. Somebody was Ultraman, somebody was something. They were like
Yeah.
exceptionally मतलब ऊपर थे. तो आई वॉज ऑलवेज राइजिंग इन देयर कंपनी. आई वॉज ऑलवेज अगर मैं चुप भी बैठता था ना तो मैं हर रोज 1 इंच ऊपर जा रहा होता था विज
Hmm.
वी समवेयर लाइक इन आर ऑल संडे सैटरडे पार्टीज 8 बजे पार्टी खत्म हो जाती थी क्यों सब हर एक को नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग में कुछ ट्रेनिंग करने जाना है.
That is so
So
familiar.
all of us have been that way. Like my
Yeah.
wife is like, she says, I don't want to go to party because your parties are like 7 बजे खत्म हो जाती है और सुबह 6 बजे 5 बजे सब बाहर होते हैं कि उठने के लिए लोग पार्टी से सुबह 5 बजे
Yeah.
आते हैं तुम बाहर जाते हो. So I think
Yeah.
that is also a very important thing in your life, be it professional or your personal life. The people you are surrounded with. I was
Yeah.
lucky that I was always surrounded by right people. Like I remember I was doing cycling, मैं cycling कर रहा था and I met somebody, he said कि he's preparing for Ironman. I didn't know even Ironman क्या होता. I thought it's a watch. वो Timex की watch होती थी Ironman की. So I thought तो देन वो साइकिलिंग करते करते हम 200 किलोमीटर 300 किलोमीटर ब्रेवे कर रहे थे. तो ही सेड कि ऐसे होता है. तो मैंने कहा चलो करते हैं. आई स्टार्टेड मीटिंग दैट गाय पर्सन और फिर कोई ना कोई मिलता रहा एंड आई सर्टेनली रजिस्टर्ड फॉर हाफ आयरन मैन अल्ट्रामैन. So that's how my journey started. On my own, I don't think I would have done it till I didn't have that right company.
That's interesting. I think it's a good time to ask. I mean, throughout your career, you have obviously interacted with a lot of colleagues, a lot of team members, a lot of employees. Would you want to call out some of your team members or your colleagues? I won't use the word inspired, but someone whose work ethics or someone who's done something in life stayed with you, whether it was professionalism, whether it was dedication toward the job, anything that comes to your mind.
I think I would I'll not in particular name a person, but I'll rate an organization like ICICI.
Hmm.
Everybody there was inspiring. Like, see the leaders they have produced. Like today in banking or financial industry, somebody उधर का थका हुआ भी कोई आदमी होगा वो किसी न किसी कंपनी का या किसी न किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का कोई लीडर होगा.
Yeah.
But I really
Yeah.
learned. I've seen Mr. Kamath so closely. Having vision, like we are such a small people. 6 महीने 3 महीने आगे का सोच पाते. I remember once Mr. Kamath, I was in a branch in CP branch, and this is what 2005 या 6 की बात है. Mr. Kamath came in. और हम डेस्कटॉप से लैपटॉप पे शिफ्ट हुए थे. तो everybody was excited. The branch manager showing, sir, we have like cleaned the desk, we have laptops and everything. Now we like serve customers very well. So he thought he will say very good work. He said, you guys are like, I don't know what will happen to this bank. Nobody is going to use laptop. The banking is going to be in your hands. और किसी को नहीं समझ आया कि what did he mean by saying, and he just left. He just spent 10 minutes and left. And he just said banking is going to be in your hands. And today you just see nobody uses
Yeah.
anything laptop. It's all in
Yeah.
mobile. 15 साल पहले के मतलब जब बैंक के मोबाइल बैंकिंग तो 2014-15 से ये सारा फिनोमिनन शुरू
Yeah.
हुआ है. मैं 2005 की
Yeah.
बात कर रहा हूँ. This
Yeah.
guy could see 10 year hence. This is what is called visionaries. I started my career with Tata Steel and I call myself like manager for life. The way you're trained in army, officer for life,
Yeah.
Tata's train you manager for life. Because eventually you're a
Correct.
manager. You're managing something as a son, as a father, as a daughter. In your role as an individual, you're always managing something. You're managing your relationship,
Yeah.
you're managing work. And so Tata's taught me actually that manager for life career. I think anybody wants to start career, he has to work 2, 3 years in Tata's to build that ethics.
Wow.
But now hardcore ethics. मतलब I'm indebted to that company. I worked 3 years there, but I learned so much. I learned so much that
Yeah.
life is beyond profit. Life is beyond just profit making and everything. Life is more than that. I have seen Tata spending millions of rupees just for human cause. It doesn't make business sense. It doesn't make profit sense, but they will do it.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
so dedicated to their names. They are so dedicated to reputation. They can do anything. They can completely wind that company just for the name of that company, for what they
Yeah.
stand. And I think that's Japanese culture really inspires me, how they are loyal to a cause, loyal to a family, loyal to discipline. So I was just yesterday, I was going, parking the car, and मैं जल्दी में था कि मेरे को पहले slot मिल जाए. So I was coming out, then somebody told me, I was going to the Harley Davidson Museum, and somebody told me then, and there was an anecdote story. He said, in Japan, people who come early, they park the farthest.
Yes.
They go
I
to the
read that.
la end of this thing, and why they do is because जो लास्ट में आ रहा होता है उसको जल्दी है बेचारे को, वो लेट
हाँ,
आया है, उसको वो लेट हो
उसको
रहा है,
पास वाला चाहिए.
उसको सबसे पहले पार्किंग मिलती है. दिस इज
Yeah.
व्हाट हैज टॉट स्पोर्ट्स हैज टॉट मी. मतलब आई कांट टेल यू the kind of people I've met. Why I want to put my daughters into sports is not for being fitness. I
Yeah.
firmly believe that it makes you a very good human being. I have
Definitely.
met such good human beings that जिनका कोई लेना नहीं देना नहीं, but they will do it for you. And sports में
Yeah.
I'm sure you will relate to it, कि ऑफिस जाओ और कोई भी आपके कंधे पे कभी हाथ नहीं मारता है कि अरे good work, you've come to office, good job buddy, you've come to office. Nobody is going to do that till you have not
Yeah.
achieved
Yeah.
something. This is what my upbringing was, and हम सबकी ऐसी upbringing होती है. बट
Yeah.
स्पोर्ट्स इज द ओनली थिंग, जब आप स्टार्ट पे खड़े होते हैं आप सबको पता है, कम ऑन बड़ी, लेट्स डू इट,
Yeah. Yeah.
जस्ट लेट्स स्टार्ट इट ऑफ. और कोई वापस आ रहा होता है तो उसको भी कहते हैं कम, आपकी खुद भी लगी
हाँ.
हुई होती है, बट आप
Yeah.
जनरली वो
Yeah.
कह
Yeah.
रहे हो कि
Yeah.
कम ऑन, लास्ट 100 meters, लास्ट 10 to go, लास्ट
हाँ.
5 to go. Because you can empathize, you can feel
You
it.
can understand. You can
That's
understand
what
it.
I
Yeah.
learned from sports, that empathy
Yeah.
which you get now. And for
Yeah.
me, I'm a very dry black and white person. Empathy is very tough for me. बट स्पोर्ट्स इज रियली, मतलब मेरे ऑफिस में जाके किसी को, जब तक कोई अचीवर नहीं होता तब तक किसी को हंधे पे बोलना है यार गुड वर्क, यू हैव कम बड़ी, यू हैव शोन अप टुडे, सो that is what sports taught me.
Yeah.
Unconditional supporting somebody is not something which we learn in school or which we learn in office. Office में तो worst ही
Yeah.
होता है. Office तो it's like give and take completely. But this is what I learned
Yeah.
from, and this is why I say कि sports really saved me from what I could have become. Aggressive,
Mm.
arrogant, brash, rude, shortcut,
Yeah.
all these things. I'm so thankful that I was in school, which gave me some in this, and lucky enough to be in Gurgaon, to be in the right circle to do these things. I had this young guy in Bangalore when I was training. So I don't know if you're familiar with Bangalore or not. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Very much. Very much.
so I used to go, from Indiranagar to Nandi Hill, and Nandi Hill ऊपर, because Ultraman में बहुत
हाँ.
elevation है, मतलब it's like 3,000 4,000 मीटर का elevation
हाँ.
है in small spans.
Yeah.
So Nandi Hill में जाता था और मेरे को ट्रेनिंग करना था. So there was this boy, young guy working with one of the hotels, and he had met me in one run. He's Kashmiri, so luckily हम connect हुए. And he said, I want to do Ironman. So I said, okay, ठीक है, मतलब you train with me. So that boy would wake up at 3 o'clock, make breakfast for me because my
अच्छा.
family was not here, pick me up
हाँ.
from Indiranagar, drive 90
क्या बात.
kilometers approximately, take me Nandi Hill. So I used to cycle करके ऊपर जाता था, तो वो कोई 8 किलोमीटर में 1300 मीटर की एलिवेशन है, तो अच्छा खासा मिल जाता था.
हाँ.
ऊपर जाता था, फिर वो मुझे गाड़ी में नीचे लेके आता था अपनी स्कॉर्पियो में, फिर मैं ऊपर जाता था. तो आई यूज्ड टू डू 4-5 राउंड, और वो 8 बजे मुझे घर छोड़ता था और 8:30-9 बजे अपने ऑफिस जाता था.
क्या बात है.
He had no
Unbelievable.
bloody business to get up at
Yeah.
3 make breakfast for me. और मैं
हाँ.
स्विमिंग करता था, निशा मिलेट के स्विमिंग पूल होता था, मैं 3-3 4 किलो. So that boy would come and get me dry fruits soaked in water रात को, सुबह मेरे को वहां देगा करके. And he was very health freak and all that.
हाँ.
So
हाँ.
this is the kind of people I have met who have no, मतलब no intention, nothing कि पैसा लेना है या कुछ करूंगा कि आगे
Yeah.
फायदा होगा तो इसलिए आज इन्वेस्ट करता हूँ इसमें करके. This is what I love about sports. And this is why I want everyone and my family to be in endurance. Not for being
Hmm.
fit and healthy and getting famous, but for becoming a good human being. I think that is what I have loved
Wow.
about endurance sports.
Beautiful story about the kid. Did he get his
Oh,
Ironman
yeah,
dream?
yeah. And I'll tell you the beauty. So he had registered for half Ironman Malaysia.
अच्छा.
So we were running and everything, doing swimming. तो एक दिन हमने रन किया 42. मैंने उसको कहा तू राहुल अब हो गया तेरा, मेरे को लगता है हो गया, तू टाइम मत वेस्ट कर, हाफ में तू फुल रजिस्टर कर. कहता है अरे
हाँ.
सर आप क्या पागल मारोगे मेरे को, अब ये करोगे सारा कुछ करके. मैंने कहा तू कर रजिस्टर, मैं पैसे दे दूंगा तेरे को अगर नहीं हुआ. एंड ही
हाँ.
रजिस्टर्ड, वी बोथ वर गोइंग टू मलेशिया. So
Okay.
unfortunately, I 1 week before that I had dengue, so I couldn't go. And that guy
Okay.
finished it. So he finished
क्या
it.
बात है.
मतलब
Wow.
16:30 ऐसे कुछ घंटे में, मतलब उसने एग्जैक्ट फिनिश पे किया,
चलो
but
कोई
he
बात नहीं.
finished.
कर लिया
But
उसने.
I'm so glad that I could not that I trained him or anything. I could motivate him, only motivate
Yeah.
him from moving to half to full Ironman करके. So I've met such people. I'm not able to name right now people, but sports has been journey all across, meeting very good people for no rhyme and reason, helping you, supporting you. And I really want that people can talk about me also same way
Yeah.
someday. So
नहीं, I think face to face तो कम हुआ है, but I have had multiple instances where someone posts something on LinkedIn and says, "Sir, you inspired me." मैंने कहा मैंने कब किया भाई? And I think TMM 23, I had 3 people meeting me on the course and saying, "अरे sir, I know you. आपको मैं follow करता हूँ." मैंने कहा अरे वाह बहुत यार.
no, I also saw
So
you like
yeah.
that only. I saw your
हाँ.
post, and one day I saw we were running, I think TM में कहीं, तो I saw, होता ना कि familiar
हाँ.
होते हैं शक्ल तो याद आ जाता है. Then I saw you
Yeah.
had a very
Yeah.
good time that time. So you never
Correct.
know what you in good deeds, how you inspire people, how you motivate. Like
Yeah.
in Paytm, I had started a fit Paytm community. There were 700 people running. And today one
Wow.
girl, young SRCC में मेरी junior है, but बहुत ही छोटी है. तो she just passed out and she was in my team. And today morning she said, "Sir, I've left Paytm. I got inspired," and all that long story and
Yeah.
everything. And नीचे लिखती है, "Sir, thanks to you, I have registered for Solang Ultra." So I said, "Shit, man, you're Solang Ultra." मतलब, and she did first half marathon जब मैंने कुछ करवाया था, event कराया था. And she said, "It's all due
Yeah.
to you and all that." I feel so
हाँ.
glad when people talk about, like in my friend
Yeah.
circle, I push them. So lot of my friends, my very close family friend, both husband wife are doing this time, first time VDHM. So the experience of going 5 o'clock, waking up in the morning, I
Yeah.
always tell my family and friend ना, सुबह 4 बजे ना दुनिया डिफरेंट होती है. सेम
हाँ.
सड़क
हाँ.
आपको डिफरेंट लगेगी जो आपको
Yeah.
9 बजे लगेगी. टू एक्सपीरियंस दैट
True.
यू हैव टू बी 4 o'clock awake and see this world.
Yeah.
मतलब
Yeah.
I wish I can not quantify it and tell people that what it feels to be an, मतलब हम तो
I
यार
know.
amateur athletes हैं, but I can't say that we have achieved something in life, but what
Yeah.
experience we have had. I want to die doing all this, traveling across the
Yeah.
world and doing events and running around. This is what my goal in life is. So one day
Yeah.
Vijay asked me Paytm में कि ना I had done this Tata Ultra. So he said यार क्या पागल हो क्या, मतलब ये भागते रहते हो 50-50 रात रात भर भाग रहे हो तुम बैठ के 16-16 घंटे भाग रहे हो. तो मैंने उसको क्यों, आई टोल्ड विजय कि मैं नौकरी इसलिए कर रहा हूँ कि मैं ये कर पाऊं. जिस दिन मेरे पास इनफ पैसे होंगे तो मैं नौकरी भी नहीं करूंगा, बिकॉज मैं वो
Yeah.
टाइम भी इसी में लगाऊंगा सारा कुछ करके. एंड
Correct. Correct.
वेर एवर आई वर्क, आई टेल माई सीईओ और एवरीबडी वेरी फर्मली दैट दिस इज
हाँ.
नॉट समथिंग विच आई डू कुछ करने के लिए, दिस इज वेरी कोर ऑफ मी. सो टुमारो डोंट
हाँ.
थिंक कि दैट मैं जॉब नहीं कर रहा हूँ, ये नहीं कर रहा हूँ. बट आई थिंक द गुड पार्ट हैज बीन फॉर एवरीवन इंजीनियरिंग, यू हैव टू हैव अ बैलेंस. There are 24 hours. 24 hours are enough for doing everything. But yes, you have to
Hmm.
manage, really manage well. My whole life since I've started training has gone. मेरे दिमाग में चलता रहता है, अच्छा अभी ये नहीं हुआ तो अब ये करता हूँ, अच्छा ये 2 घंटे नहीं हुआ अब ये कर, मतलब कॉन्स्टेंटली मशीन चलती रहती है दिमाग में करके. मेरा
Yeah.
पूरा
Yeah.
कैलेंडर है.
Yeah.
तो दैट हैज हेल्प मी बिकम वेरी वेरी एफिशिएंट. मतलब मैं हर
Yeah.
सेकंड कुछ, मेरे अपने ऑफिस में स्टडी में आई हैव अ जिम. सो 15 मिनट का ब्रेक मिला तो जल्दी से डेड लिफ्ट कर लिया, ये कर लिया, वो कर लिया. मतलब दिस इज हाउ माई लाइफ हैज बीन. कुछ भी होता है चल
Yeah.
जल्दी से ये
Yeah.
कर लेता हूँ. So it's all about time management. And what I learned is if you love sports, obviously you have to devote time, because you love this thing, you have to devote time. ऑफिस वाले
Yeah.
पैसे नहीं देंगे अगर टाइम नहीं डिवोट करोगे, इफ योर वर्क इज नॉट अप टू द मार्क, इफ योर वर्क
Yeah.
स्टार्ट सफरिंग देन यू डेफिनेटली कांट डू इट. सो फाइनली व्हाट
Yeah.
सफर्स इज योर फैमिली. So you cut it on your family time or your sleep time and you put it on
कहीं से निकालना
office and
पड़ेगा
कहीं
आपको.
से निकालना
That's
पड़ेगा.
true.
But then I learned eventually कि मैं I started putting my family also into it. कि जो मैं अपने साथ अब टाइम लगा रहा हूँ उनके लिए भी रिक्रिएशन हो जाए. So like my Ultraman. So my whole family was crew. My younger daughter was like 4 years old. My elder was one around 12 years
Yeah.
old. My mother and my wife. So they all knew खाने का,
I hope they were
साइकिल का.
compensated properly.
No, we went. I had a very, very expensive trip. So we went to Australia, but they were all together. So they were all three in the car going around. Like the way I experienced those 10-kilometer
Hmm.
swim, 450-kilometer cycling, and 84-kilometer run, they experienced it with me. And luckily we had vacations also. But obviously sometimes it gets overboard. Like my daughter, younger daughter especially will say, Papa, is it a vacation or is it a sports event? So I will say, no, it's a vacation. कहते हैं, so we are not doing sports. मैंने कहा नहीं, we will do sports also. So this is then it is not a vacation because we will be most involved in that. So this is all the tricks I have learned in my life to balance things out. Yes, one thing I have learned is to be a very very efficient. I value every minute of mine. Like हर मिनट की वैल्यू है कि बिकॉज अगर ये नहीं कर रहा हूं तो इस टाइम पर इस मिनट में मैं आई कुड हैव रन, आई कुड हैव स्वैम, और आई कुड हैव स्लेप्ट, और आई
Yeah.
कुड हैव बीन विद फैमिली. So this is what I have learned
Yeah.
from sports. Now I really appreciate every minute of my life.
Yeah. Quite a few things that what you said resonated. I mean, बोला नहीं था मैंने कभी उसे, but I used to crib that my daughter never even once came at the finish point or the start point of ADHM. मतलब local run है हमारा, कभी तो आ जाओ यार, कभी तो देख लो पापा क्या कर रहे हैं. But she was there with me in my Ironman in Kazakhstan in 22. She was there with me. We had a fantastic time. She was there in the beginning. She said bye bye before the swim. At the end of the bike ride, at the end of swim and before bike ride, she was there. At the end of bike ride, she was there. But most importantly, at the finish line, after the run, she was there with the India flag. She gave me the flag and I ran with it. Having someone around on an event like that is so important. So important. मतलब
No,
आपके दोस्त कितने भी क्लोज हों, बट
हाँ,
फैमिली का मजा
फैमिली
अलग ही
का.
होता
नो
है.
नो, आई ऑलवेज ऑलवेज मैं ना हमेशा बैक कैलकुलेट करता हूँ जब भी मैं कुछ रजिस्टर करता हूँ ना. मैं दिमाग नहीं लगाता बिकॉज मतलब फॉर दिस कि जो ही मुझे लगता है ना मेरी औकात से बाहर है, फिर मैं कुछ नहीं सोचता हूँ, मैं रजिस्टर कर देता हूँ. उसके बाद
हाँ.
फिर कैलकुलेट करता हूँ पीछे अब ये कैसे करना है.
हाँ.
एंड आई थिंक व्हाट हैज ऑलवेज हेल्प मी इज टू विजुअलाइज द फिनिश लाइन. I've
Yeah.
always visualized the finish line by thinking ना मेरी फैमिली होगी, मैं भाग के जाऊंगा, फ्लैग होगा, मतलब this keeps me so on my track ना कि वो I've
Yeah.
always visualized the finish line. Before my start line, I visualize the finish line because that
Yeah.
helps me to believe कि ये.
हाँ
And
हाँ,
I will
प्रॉब्लम बहुत
always
इजी हो
break.
जाती है.
I will always break my journey into small journeys, 5 किलोमीटर, 10 किलोमीटर. Because अगर आप मतलब इमेजिन करो आप अल्ट्रामैन कर रहे हो और आपको मतलब थर्ड डे पे 84 किलोमीटर आप सोच ही रहे हो ना, तो वैसे ही छोड़ दोगे आप पहले करके. सो
Yeah.
चल अच्छा 10 कर लेता हूँ, देन आई विल सेलिब्रेट विद माई सेल्फ, देन 15 कर लेता हूँ, तो ब्रेक में. बट एज यू राइटली सेड लाइक दैट फिनिश लाइन पे ना, एंड दैट हैज हेल्प मी रिवर्सली. अब मैं कुछ भी रजिस्टर करता हूँ ना, मैं हमेशा ही सोचता हूँ कि फिनिश पे जब फैमिली खड़ी होगी ना, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ फीलिंग इट वुड बी. And especially with daughter, like I did couple of triathlons with my daughter. She swims and all that. So we did Goa
Yeah.
swimathon and everything. It's a phenomenal. मतलब, you can't buy it with money. मतलब, you can't buy. You
No,
have
no,
to.
you can't.
You have
You
to earn.
can't.
मतलब, I
No,
tell
I will.
people that enough in any amount of money, you can't buy this kind of experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can't quantify and show it to people ki what it feels.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
who can just
उसको
have a
डिस्क्राइब
glimpse
करना
of,
मुश्किल है.
people who have glimpse of it get addicted. Like I have family friends, अब वो हर रोज सुबह 5 बजे निकले होते हैं रन के लिए, वॉक के लिए, बिकॉज उनको VDHM करना है. तो उनको मैंने अभी वो
हाँ.
दिल्ली में कुछ हार्वेस्ट गोल्ड की हो रही थी, तो मतलब व्हेन दे सॉ 1,000 people स्टैंडिंग 4 o'clock 5 o'clock इन द मॉर्निंग, डिफरेंट वाइब. उसके बाद ब्रेकफास्ट करने जा रहे
Yeah.
हैं, घूमने जा रहे हैं एंड ऑल दैट. So
Yeah.
that's how you get. I'll tell you a beautiful story about. I'll just take 1 minute. So I
Sure. Sure.
was doing this ADHM की तैयारी and all that, and I was a newbie in sports. तो हर रोज इम्प्रूवमेंट बहुत ज्यादा होती है शुरू शुरू में. लाइक
Yeah.
2 घंटे से 150 आ गया, मतलब मैं पहले 2.5 घंटे करता था, 2 घंटे. तो आई थॉट आई अराइव्ड इन स्पोर्ट्स. So I started doing gymming and everything, and suddenly I had an accident gym में, and I had a cervical disc bulge, massive
Oh.
disc bulge in 2013. एंड इट वाज सो दैट 6 मंथ आई वाज बेड रिडन. एंड फिर फाइनली मेरे डॉक्टर ने बोला कि बेटा अब आप ना इस हाथ से लाइफ में कुछ मत करना, रनिंग तो छोड़ ही दो, आपका बिल्कुल ही एकदम वो है, रनिंग नहीं होगा सारा. आई वाज लाइक शॉक. मैंने कहा यार लाइफ लॉन्ग स्पोर्ट्स किया है, सब कुछ किया, अब कैसे छोड़ दूं
हाँ.
करके. तो मैं ऐसे ही घूमता फिरता रहा. आई हैड पुट ऑन वेट, आई हैड बिकम 110 kgs, बिकॉज अब कुछ है नहीं,
Oh my
डिप्रेशन
God.
में हो, सब कुछ हो. तो
Yeah. Yeah.
इफ आई सेंड यू माई पिक्चर, यू विल नॉट इवन रिकॉग्नाइज मी इन दैट पिक्चर. So one of my branch managers, Sachin Satija, so ही सेड सर अब आप रन तो कर नहीं पा रहे हो, आप मेरे से साइकिलिंग आ जाओ, साइकिलिंग सेफ है, बस
अच्छा।
पैडल मारते रहेंगे, पैडल चलाते रहेंगे
हाँ,
और आराम से डिस्टेंस
बहुत
निकल
बढ़िया।
जाएगा। तो मैंने कहा अच्छा आइडिया करके, बिकॉज रन में कर नहीं पाता था, बहुत ज्यादा, आई हैड अ सर्जरी, आई हैड अ सर्वाइकल सर्जरी बिफोर दिस सारा कुछ करके। तो मैंने कहा कि चल करते हैं। वो साइकिलिंग में ऐसा हो गया कि पहले दिन 50 किया, फिर 100 किया, फिर कुछ दिन बाद 200 किया, फिर 300 किया।
अरे बाप रे।
एंड सो ही हैज पुट अ फोटोग्राफ मेरा मेडल के साथ आयरन मैन का। सो दिस इज व्हाट स्पोर्ट्स कैन डू टू यू। इट्स बीन अ बिग
No, I
सेवियर,
think this
ट्रस्ट
is,
मी, मतलब इट्स बीन अ बिग सेवियर फॉर मी एटलीस्ट पर्सनली।
no, when I did the Ironman with a fractured wrist, and when I went back, my doctor actually shared my achievement with in his
ओ यू
entire
हैड अ
doctor circle.
फ्रैक्चर्ड रिस्ट।
I had a wrist fracture. एंड तो डॉक्टर ने तो बोल दिया था भैया अब तुम्हारे भरोसे, मेरे को डोंट से कि मैंने तुम्हें ऑथराइज किया है, तुम्हें जाना है तो जाओ, मरना है तो मरो, मेरी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
No, it's amazing, मतलब what, and body has
Yeah.
unlimited capability. It's just that your
Oh yeah.
brain stops you from thinking. Like,
हाँ,
and हम
yeah.
सबको जैसे ना, like हम सब में ability नहीं होती है. And how we get this ability is by the circle you are in. I had
Yeah.
friends who had done Ironman, Ultraman. Somebody is doing 5 Ironman. Somebody is doing something. So अपनी अचीवमेंट तो लगता था यार तुम तो अभी भी नए नए आए हो, कितना मैं अभी भी उस सर्कल में होता हूँ ना कि मुझे अभी भी लगता है कि यार मैं अभी बच्चा हूँ, मतलब कि अभी कुछ और सीखना है इनके सामने करके। और
हाँ,
वही चीज
हाँ।
तुम्हारे को ना इमेजिन कराती है बड़ी चीजें। और मैं तो
Yeah.
अब मैंने
Yeah.
फर्स्ट आयर हाफ आयरन मैंने ऐसे रजिस्टर किया था, तो हम रात को पार्टी में थे, तो मेरे फ्रेंड कहता है अरे तेरे से नहीं होगा, मतलब ना दैट
हाँ, मतलब
टिपिकल बैंटर यू
चैलेंज
हैव,
करने
हाँ
के।
ये करके।
Yeah.
तो मैंने हाफ आयरन मैन किया था, तो वो मेरे को ना टीज करते थे, अरे तू तो हाफ ही रह गया है, तू तो हाफ, ऐसे करते थे। तो फर्स्ट थिंग आई वेंट रात को 1:30 बजे और आई सॉ न्यूजीलैंड आयरन मैन आने वाला है मार्च में, आई रजिस्टर्ड। क्योंकि माई
हाँ,
कजन इज देयर, माई सिस्टर इज देयर, तो मैंने कहा चल रजिस्टर करता हूँ, आई कैन स्टे विद हर ऑल्सो। एंड देन जोश में तो कर दिया। फिर मैंने रेस रिपोर्ट पढ़ी, दिस इज द वर्स्ट वन टू स्टार्ट विद, इट हैज क्रॉस विंड्स, इट हैज दिस, इट हैज दैट, इट हैज सी वेव्स एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स करके। तो मैंने कहा ये क्या कर दिया। फिर दैट इज द डे आई लर्न कि यार कभी ना देखो मत, ब्लाइंडली करो, देन
हाँ।
कैलकुलेट, रिवर्स कैलकुलेट। एंड आई हैव
Yeah.
दिस
That's true.
ऑन द सोशल
Yeah.
मीडिया थिंग, न्यूजीलैंड का, दैट वाज माय फर्स्ट आयरन मैन। तो न्यूजीलैंड का इट्स अ लेक स्विम एंड वाटर,
हाँ,
दे आर वेरी वेरी पर्टिकुलर अबाउट वाटर, एंड दैट वाटर इज सो ट्रांसपेरेंट, लाइक क्लियर, आपको नीचे बॉटम दिखाई देता है, मतलब यू कैन सी द
okay,
पिट।
right.
तो मैं पहले दिन गया तो पानी इतना डेड फ्लैट, मैंने अपनी वाइफ को बोला अरे अब तो रिकॉर्ड सेट कर देंगे, आज तो मजा ही आ जाएगा कल करने के लिए। मैंने किया, प्रैक्टिस किया। अगले दिन हम चल के आ रहे हैं, तो मैं उधर ना दूर से आवाजें आ रही है ऐसे पानी की।
हाँ,
मैंने कहा ये क्या हो
हाँ,
रहा है, बारिश भी नहीं हो रही है, कुछ हो रही है, ऐसी क्या हो रही है। तो उस दिन हाई टाइड थी, एंड देयर लेक्स आर लाइक एज बिग एज इंडियन सीज, मतलब इतने बड़े बड़े होते हैं कि वो
wow,
250
okay,
किलोमीटर का सर्कम
हाँ,
होगा।
हाँ।
तो मैं देख रहा हूँ 10-10 फीट की वेव है, पानी में वेव आ रही है। मैं पहले तो मैं गया उधर 1 किलोमीटर गया, तो मस्त वेव का टाइड मिल रहा था। मैंने कहा यार
हाँ,
घड़ी देख रहा हूँ, मैंने कहा यार ये तो मेरे रिकॉर्ड ना सेट हो जाए, मतलब मैं जल्दी ना आ जाऊं। फिर क्या हुआ, फिर 50 मीटर,
टेलीकॉल पे छक्का।
हाँ 50 मीटर का टर्न है और फिर यू टर्न है। वो
हाँ,
50 मीटर ही ना, बिकॉज अब पानी ऊपर आ रहा था।
हाँ,
इट टुक मी 15 minutes टू कवर 50 meters, आई
वाओ।
कुडंट गो देयर, आई वुड हैव हैड एटलीस्ट 3-4 liters ऑफ वाटर। मैंने ना हाथ खड़ा कर दिया, मेरा फर्स्ट टाइम था हाथ खड़ा, मैंने कहा मुझसे नहीं होगा, दे रहा है सारा कुछ करके। तो मैंने हाथ खड़ा कर दिया। और उस साल वर्स्ट वो टाइड थी, तो देयर वर सम 140 DNS इन वाटर। तो
अच्छा।
140 DNS, मतलब उन्हें हेलीकॉप्टर लाके लोग उठा रहे हैं ये वो करके, बिकॉज इट
ओ माय गॉड।
एक्सट्रीम
ओके।
हो गया था, मतलब 5-5 फीट की वेव है। मतलब आई सॉ वन जापानीज, मैं स्विम कर रहा हूँ, वो ऐसे वेव पे और मेरे ऊपर गिर गया,
ओ शिट।
मैं भी नीचे वो भी नीचे करके। सो आई सेड ये तो होगा नहीं मुझसे करके, बिकॉज मेरे को 15 मिनट लग गए। मैं उधर
या।
यहाँ 2 किलोमीटर में आ गया 45-50 40 मिनट में करके, और ये 15 मिनट लग
हाँ,
गए, और पानी भी पी लिया। तो मैंने हाथ रेस कर दिया और बोट आ गई, वो स्कीइंग बोट थी वो करके।
हाँ,
तो मैंने हाथ रखा उसमें, और द फर्स्ट फर्स्ट, मतलब आई विविडली रिमेम्बर दिस थिंग, कि मैंने कहा आई यूज्ड टू पुट एवरी डे ऑन माय सोशल मीडिया पोस्ट, 60 days टू गो, 59 days टू गो, 49 डेज टू
या,
मोटिवेट माई सेल्फ। एंड
हाँ,
ना मैं
हाँ,
पोस्ट
हाँ,
डालता था
या,
आज की ट्रेनिंग, और ऐसे करते
या।
करते मैंने 60 दिन की ट्रेल बनाई हुई थी। तो मैंने जब हाथ रखा ना, तो मैंने कहा यार लोग बोलेंगे साले तू ये पोस्ट डाल क्यों रहा था जब तेरे को करनी नहीं थी। इट शुक मी लिटरली, जैसे ना इलेक्ट्रिक करंट लगता है। मैंने धक्का दे दिया बोट को, मैंने कहा मेरे को नहीं जाना है, मैं कर लूंगा। तो फिर क्या हुआ, जो बॉयज होते हैं तो वहां बॉयज के पास में, तो मैंने पकड़ के एक बॉय पे लेकर हाथ रखा और खड़ा हुआ, वो 40-50 लोग लेके बैठे हुए हैं। तो मैंने घड़ी देखी, मैंने कहा टाइम तो बहुत है मेरे पास, तो व्हाई एम आई पैनिकिंग। तो मैं एक एक बॉय को करते 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 फिनिश कर लिया वो करके। एंड
Wow.
दैट डे आई रियलाइज कि कितना पावरफुल है सोशल मीडिया, मतलब हाउ यू कैन
No, no,
पुट
but
रिवर्स
I
प्रेशर ऑन
use
यू।
I use social media like anything. मतलब मैं पहले ही डाल देता हूँ। अभी तक मैं इवेंट के पहले नहीं डालता हूँ, इवेंट के बाद ही डालता हूँ, बट कहीं मुझे लगता है कि यार टेंशन आ रहा है ना, सबसे पहले सोशल मीडिया पे डाल
बट
दो, मैं
मेरे,
कर रहा हूँ।
इट वॉज बाई एक्सीडेंट, इट वॉज नॉट समथिंग आई हैड डन डिलिबरेटली, बट आई हैव लर्नड इट नाउ। अब मैं हमेशा ऐसे डालता हूँ। बट इट वॉज लाइक ना, द मिनट पुट हैंड ना, मेरे को एक ही चीज याद है अभी तक, मतलब उस पूरे इवेंट की मेरे को एक ही चीज याद है कि लोग बोलेंगे साले तूने पोस्ट डाले क्यों थे, जो ये 60 दिन से तू दिखा रहा था हमारे को ट्रेनिंग के, कि अगर तेरे को
And
यही
they will
करना
not
था।
understand the difficulty, right? They will not understand this particular situation. They will only know the 60 days of training because
नो,
आपने पूरे डिटेल अपडेट दिए थे
पूरा
उनको.
करके ना, मतलब ऑब्वियसली शो ऑफ टाइप होता है, मतलब शो ऑफ भी होता है, ऑब्वियसली यू वांट टू शो टू पीपल
Yeah,
व्हाट यू डूइंग।
yeah.
और फिर मैंने कहा कौन पढ़ेगा कि वो दैट वाज द वर्स्ट टाइड दैट डे, मैक्सिमम डीएनएफ, मतलब देयर वाज अ आर्टिकल नेक्स्ट डे कि मैक्सिमम डीएनएफ इट्स नॉट सेफ एंड ऑल दैट करके करके। बट लकीली आई वाज लाइक समटाइम्स समथिंग
Wow.
वर्क्स रियली इन योर फेवर।
That's quite a story. So for me, source of inspiration is book. Any book which you'd like to highlight, which has stayed with you,
Unfortunately,
book or
I'm
book.
not a very avid book reader, but one book which I was forced to read in my training in ICICI was Execution by Ram Charan and Larry Bossidy. So that's the only book I read fully. I have read couple of, but that book really taught me about execution. I'm a very, very firm believer of execution. If there are two school of thought, is strategy bigger or an execution bigger? I believe that a poor strategy can also be, if well executed, can actually deliver results to you.
Yeah.
So that book really inspired me. It has really thought-provoking chapters in it, which tells you about, and at a very young age, ना, because क्या होता है ना, हम जैसे लोग like
Yeah.
you learn execution by experience only when you do it.
Of
But
course.
at a very
Yeah.
young age, learning and reading, and it had a very profound impact in my career on execution.
Yeah.
How you
Yeah.
double check everything, how you go back, recheck everything, how do you develop those small, small things. And that has really
Yeah.
helped me in every aspect of my life, my relationship, my career, my sports, everything that has really helped me, that book.
Yeah. Yeah.
At
And
that time, it
execution
was
is a magic word in startup because startup में सब लोग आइडिया के दम पे चलते हैं ना, तो बहुत स्टार्ट आइडिया का कोई वैल्यू नहीं है. It's all about execution. The one who
execution.
executes
Yeah.
it well is the one who will win.
कंप्लीटली एग्री।
Yeah.
इसी आइडिया तो सबका सेम ही होता है, मतलब आइडिया तो
Yeah.
मतलब पांच छह मिलके पांच छह आइडिया होते हैं जो फिर होते हैं, बट उसके बाद भी
हाँ.
सम पीपल डू रियली वेल एंड सम पीपल स्ट्रगल विद दैट आइडिया, बट इट्स ऑल
Yeah.
अबाउट एग्जीक्यूशन एंड पीपल।
Yeah. Any quote or any mantra which stays with you, something which you strongly
No, I think
address.
one quote says, "All it takes is all you've got." So it's always it has inspired me. It's always inspired me. मतलब like whenever you have doubt, na, I always speak out. All it takes is all you have got. So it whatever it takes to do, na, it's already in you. It's just that you have
हाँ.
to explore and find
Get
it
it out.
out.
You have to get it
You have
out.
to get it out. It's in you. I'm a
Yeah.
very firm believer. Whenever I'm stuck in a situation, na, I say कि यार solution मुझी को निकालना है और कोई नहीं आने वाला है.
और कोई
So
नहीं कर
you better
सकता
get
है.
down to the work and get it done. I have always believed in this thing. Like
Yeah.
I had made one quote is like, what you achieve is not relevant. What you fear is becomes relevant for you. But somehow I think now I don't believe in that much because what you achieve is not irrelevant. It's relevant because it has taught you a lot of things. It has taught you a lot of things what you
Yeah.
achieve. But what you fear actually, ना, what you fear becomes irrelevant because जब आप आयरन मैन कर ले तो फिर आपको आयरन मैन का टेंशन नहीं होता, तब आपको फिर अल्ट्रामैन का
हाँ.
डर होता है, तो आप अल्ट्रामैन रेलिवेंट बन जाता है. Like today I want to
Of
do now,
course. That's true.
I've registered for my 50th birthday English channel solo swim. मेरे उसमें लगी हुई है, मतलब वो सोच के, मतलब दैट इज व्हाट कीप्स मी अवेक, सो उसकी तैयारी करते, तो इट्स लाइक इट्स वेरी रेलिवेंट व्हाट यू अचीव, देन यू इट्स लाइक अ बायगॉन, बट व्हाट देन बिकम्स
हाँ.
रेलिवेंट इज समथिंग व्हिच यू रियली फेयर और वांट टू अचीव.
Wow. So the last part is where I flip the mic around. What's the question you have for me?
No, I have the same question for you that why do you do endurance sports? Why do I see you in most of the events I see you running, and it's not like a professional capacity we
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
paid or something. So
Yeah.
what inspires you to be into
So
it?
I think the whole endurance journey started in a very casual way. I think आपकी तरह एक पार्टी में this friend of mine was not drinking and I said, why are you not drinking? He said, I'm preparing for ADHM. मैंने वो होता क्या है भाई? तो the half marathon होता है. Okay, ठीक है. 5 हफ्ते थे. I registered for it the next day. 5 weekends, 5K, 10K, 14K, 17K, and I ran the first ADHM in 2013. I ran non-stop 2 घंटे 22 मिनट में. रुका भी नहीं, पानी भी नहीं पिया. End में जाके रुका. And that high which I got, and I mean, I'd never done any physical endurance sport ever before that. That was my first event. 5K 10K कभी run किया नहीं थे मैंने. So I think the wow that I got out of it, and then of course Gurgaon is that this overarching culture was already there, right? All the groups like GRR, BCY, सब लोग मतलब रन की बात कर रहे हैं, यहाँ जाना है वहाँ जाना है. तो शुरू में तो सब छुटपुट रन सब साइन अप कर दिए थे, एंड फर्स्ट 2-3 ईयर आई वाज वेरी रिगरस इन टर्म्स ऑफ साइनिंग अप. उसके बाद मैंने रियलाइज कि नहीं यार, एंड्योरेंस रनिंग इज अ लॉन्ग टर्म गेम. मैं 2 साल में इसको बर्न आउट नहीं करना है मेरे को. Then I got very selective. In fact, this morning I looked at my stats. The entire last 12 months, I have only run for 60 days. So it's like just one run a week. And the reason I'm doing that is I have meniscus tear in both my knees. And I'm kind of running despite the tear. I don't want to go for a surgery. I'm very clear on that. तो मेरा प्लान है लंबा दौड़ना है, अच्छा दौड़ना है. I got a PB last year in TMM at 354. मैं फ्रेंड्स को बोल बोल के थक गया हूँ. मेरा लाइफ टाइम PB है, मुझे उसको तोड़ने का कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं है. बट आई वांट टू कंटिन्यू रनिंग ऑल माय लाइफ, right? I want to like make sure that I'm
Yeah.
there and fit. I used to call running as a meditation for a very long time before I discovered meditation. अब मैं meditation को meditation बोलता हूँ, running को running बोलता हूँ, दोनों को mix नहीं करता हूँ. But yeah, I think running gives, I mean, just like you, it's given me a lot of friends, it's given me opportunities to travel, it's given me chance to discover myself. I mean, I can't recognize myself from 10 years back what I was, right? मतलब जब मैं running नहीं करता था, मेरी खुद की कोई वैल्यू नहीं थी. आपने जो पॉइंट रहा है arrogance at work, मतलब I mean, I can openly share it. I mean, I was very arrogant because of my work and I didn't realize that. आपने जैसे अभी realize किया, आपकी realization has become my realization. But running gives you so much of realization all the time. आपकी एक एक नस आपको पता है, आपकी एक एक बोन आपको पता है, एक एक मसल के बारे में आपको पता है. अब तो कोई बीमार होता हूँ तो मैं अरे कुछ बीमार कुछ नहीं यार, मुझे पता है ये हुआ है, हो जाएगा ठीक, राइट? आई हैव लाइक अ डेडलाइन फॉर इट कि ये इतने घंटे में ठीक होना है इसको. So like after Ladakh marathon, I was having tremendous loose motions, and it was all because of gels. ठीक है यार, जेल की वजह से हुआ है. मैं what's the whole point in like burning? My friend said नहीं नहीं गोली ले ले, ये ले ले. मैंने कहा मैं चुपचाप जाके सो रहा हूँ, मैं 2 घंटे बाद मिलेंगे, सब ठीक हो जाएगा. So I think that's something. It's whether you do cycling or running or Ironman or something, all endurance sports, the simple purpose is look within, discover
Oh,
yourself.
yes.
अपनी जो hidden talent है उसको बाहर
Yeah.
निकालो. मतलब ठीक रच के हो गए, हिडन टैलेंट निकाली जाती है बचपन में, तब नहीं निकली, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. एवरीथिंग हैज इट्स टाइम.
वही मेरे को लोग भी कहते हैं कि ना कि आप ही क्यों मतलब फिट होने के लिए पतला होने देने के लिए मैंने कहा यार
हाँ
इट डजेंट मैटर ना पतले या मोटे. बट मुझे ये
हाँ
पता है कि जिस दिन मैं अगर नहीं कुछ करता हूँ कुछ टाइप ऑफ एक्टिविटी नहीं करता हूँ तो आई फील अनहाइजीनिक अनहेल्दी इट्स.
सर, मुझे शाम को हेडेक होता है, एंड
आ
फिर अरे यार साला सुबह रन नहीं किया था ना, इसलिए नहीं हो.
I
There's
wish
a
I
very
can tell
strong
more and
purpose in
more
that.
people about this, more and more people who I on board on this journey ना I feel कि चलो
Yeah.
कुछ कर लिया
हाँ,
लाइफ में करके. So I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's how it is.
No, it was wonderful. It's officially the longest ever
Oh,
recorded episode, 40 episodes, okay? And not a single moment was boring. Great fun, lot of stories, a lot of insight, and I'm sure the listeners will definitely pick up snippets of this talk and find inspiration in whatever way. Thanks a lot,
I
Bipin.
mean, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. Thanks a lot. Thanks. You have a good day.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.